Does anyone still care that the House Ethics Committee has decided on the last day of the 118th Congress to release the Matt Gaetz ethics investigation into whether he is or is not a sexual predator, a sexual trafficker, someone who raped underage girls? I care. And therefore, I'm here on this hot take on Legal AF on the Midas Touch Network, reporting on the new report. I knew this was coming out because all of a sudden, Matt Gaetz in his social media posts was coming, quote unquote, clean about him being a playboy, a scoundrel during his 30s, as he put it, where he said he womanized and used too much alcohol and had too much sex and good times. He partied hard, worked hard. These are all direct quotes from him. I'm like, why is he saying all of this? Because he's trying to minimize and sane wash the report that he knows is coming. Now, I've been predicting for a long time that the Republican chairman of the House Ethics Committee may have tipped off Matt Gaetz a long time ago about the damaging aspects of the report, about the findings. Not one, not two, but three different women, two of which were girls who testified to the committee and have gone public with their stories now, and would have gone public in a confirmation hearing had the Matt Gaetz for Attorney General gambit continued to play out. I always thought they tipped him off because within a day or two of the Republican chairman announcing that they were going to vote on the report, but if Matt Gaetz was no longer a member of the committee, or I'm sorry, of Congress, then they wouldn't release the report. A day or two later, Matt Gaetz resigned. So we had a call and response there, which I thought was indicated to me a potential leak of the report to Matt Gaetz. In any event, he resigned from the 118th. He acknowledged that he would not be sworn in on the 119th. The 119th position for Matt Gaetz will be filled by special election in Florida. But even now, Matt Gaetz is coming forward and saying, somebody speculated that I should do the following. And then he listed all of these things that he could do. I could come back to the 118th Congress. No, you can't. You've resigned. And that has, whoever recommended that to you, Matt, I know you think you're a lawyer. Check the books. You can't do that. Once you have resigned and there is a vacancy created, there is a statutory and congressional and constitutional way to fill your chair, and that's already started. You can't stop it. But he went on, he said, I'll come back. I'll get seated in the 119th. After all, I was elected. I'll then bring a point of order across, and I'll demand that all of the abuse scandals within the House that have been settled by Republican and Democrats using slush funds. I mean, look at this backhanded way of defaming fellow members of the House. No wonder they couldn't wait to get rid of him. And I'll do that before I go on my new. Did I tell everybody that I'm on a new show called the Matt Gaetz Show? I mean, yeah. I mean, anybody that cared to listen. Why does it matter at this point? I mean, I've already shadowboxed enough about what I think the ethics report is going to find. I think they're going to find there was credible testimony by at least two or three of the women that Matt Gaetz used illicit drugs, that Matt Gaetz attempted to influence witnesses, that this is what I believe the report's going to show based on other reporting, that Matt Gaetz engaged in sex trafficking, taking women underage across state lines and out of the country with his wingman, Joel Greenberg, who's serving time, up to 9 years in prison for doing the exact same thing that Matt Gaetz is accused of, and that they would have censured him. That's what I think the report's going to say. Could now the report, having been kind of locked away for the last 3 weeks, be sanitized, and we're going to see a different version of that report than what would have come out originally? Maybe. Could be. I mean, the committee would have had to have the back and forth of the drafting of the report is not public, but it could have changed in drafting. We'll have to see if a whistleblower comes out and talks about any change in the two reports. But the report will be out there, and it matters. It matters so that the public, at least those that care, will know once and for all whether Matt Gaetz was or was not a sexual predator. I don't think he's done with his political career. I think he's going to go lick his wounds and whatever else, doing news anchoring for some Matt Gaetz show for the next year or two, make a couple of $1 million, and then try to return to public life, especially if Donald Trump is still in office. And that's what's going to happen. But the report is important. We talked about 3 years of investigation by the Bipartisan Ethics Committee. It's one of the only, I think it's the only completely bipartisan committee, which is split 50-50 Democrats and Republicans. It's chaired by the party that's in power, in this case, the Republicans, but it's equal. I think it's 6 and 6 in 12 total members. Now, Matt Gaetz makes a lot out of a little. He went on social media a couple of months ago and he said, I was exonerated by the Department of Justice. No, you weren't. The Department of Justice under Joe Biden. I know that Donald Trump likes to talk about with MAGA, the weaponization of the Department of Justice. Far from it. The Department of Justice, if they wanted to weaponize, they would have went after Matt Gaetz in criminal prosecution for these very same allegations. But they dropped the investigation. They didn't exonerate him. To exonerate for a prosecutor, there's only one way to do that. That's to issue some sort of letter or statement, enter into some sort of agreement, non-prosecution or deferred prosecution agreement, or actually a closeout memo in which the prosecutor declares that the person is innocent and exonerated. That's not what happened here. It's just because a combination of politics and some issues with some of the evidence and some of the credibility of some of the witnesses, I think the Department of Justice decided that discretion was the better part of valor, and they didn't need to have the Matt Gaetz prosecution, that it would be handled by the Ethics Committee and the House. They didn't want to wade into politics at a time when he was running for re-election. You've heard this story before. I think that's what happened. But for Matt Gaetz to say, I was exonerated. No. Just like if you get a pardon, Matt Gaetz, you're not exonerated. Especially if this report is damning. I think the combination of this report will lead, I think the release of this report will lead Donald Trump to give a pardon, if it wasn't already in the works, to Matt Gaetz, to pardon him for the crimes that will be alleged and outlined in the House Ethics Committee report. This is what we do here on Legal AF. We're glad you're here for it. And follow me on all things Legal AF on this YouTube channel. Hit the free subscribe button. Help us build this pro-democracy, completely independent channel without outside investors. God, I can't tell you how much we need this kind of institution at this moment in our time. As Donald Trump and his minions and his MAGA go after, quote unquote, independent media, independent newspapers, threaten them with consumer fraud cases and defamation cases, and threaten to go after them with the FBI and prosecute them. We need you more than ever to anonymously hit the subscribe button. So until my next reporting, either on the Midas Touch Network or here on this Legal AF channel, I'm Michael Popok. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.